Here we go. It's Jen and Danielle. Here to talk about real estate. And we have Colleen from our office who's also with us today. We had a little office meeting and we're having tacos from Boca Chica. Delicious. Thanks for joining us, Colleen.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm enjoying not only these tacos, but we talk about real estate.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Colleen had a great idea of what we could talk about today. Buyers, essentially, and if it's still a good time to buy, and if you should just get out there or not.
Yeah, I think a lot of buyers are a little nervous because there's multiple offers and pricing is getting so high, but what people need to understand is the interest rates are still so low, it's so cheap to borrow money right now. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the American dream, is to own a home.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, and I think some of what's happening is that some first-time home buyers, of course, are in a, usually in a, we're dealing with millennials or maybe some Gen X that are just buying now, but they're getting a lot of advice from family and friends and coworkers to kind of go, why are you going to pay more? And after this whole 6 months to a year of competition, and everybody's sort of got their opinion on that now. So I think they're talking buyers out of, making that decision to buy right now.
Right. So I'm also seeing, we've had so many multiple offer situations that people are kind of getting, just kind of burned out and feeling a little hopeless that they're never going to find something when it still very well could.
Also, I think it's definitely all happens to realtors. We call it the parent parade, where if you finally find the home and then you bring your parents back, and a lot of times parents feel like they need to point out all the bad things about the home. Mm-hmm. We're very used to that, but a lot of times that can also scare buyers away. So just know that if your parents haven't bought and sold a home in the last even 5 years, they're going to think that the houses that you're looking at are way overpriced, but you need to understand and have confidence in the realtor that you're working with, that based on what you've looked at, if you're willing to pay that for the home, then it is worth it. A home is worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it. Right. So it is very normal for buyers, parents to come and look at the home and feel like they kind of have to tear it apart, just because then they feel like they're doing their job as parents. They automatically become home inspectors.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. We're used to that.
Mm-hmm. What you also see out there too, though, is that you can hear in casual conversation that same parent of perhaps a second-time home buyer, and they are getting sort of braggadocious, if you will, about what their kids have been able to sell their house for, right, to buy up to the next level. So you're seeing that, but then that's like this happy and very confident conversation about that, but then it doesn't apply to the one that's entering into the market right now. And so it's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that.
I think what would be helpful too is to talk a little bit about, which we did today at our realtor meeting, talk about this home inspection decision, to forego it, to be able to be, people are saying, oh, just waive it, but then what are the consequences of that? And to have a little bit more in-depth conversation with your buyer about the ramifications of foregoing that home inspection, and in order to get the house, or in order to get into first place as the buyer.
Right. That's a really good topic, and I think it's one thing that, it's definitely become almost more of a norm, people waiving that, which is kind of scary, and I would never suggest waiving an inspection, but you almost have to sometimes in this market, which is, again, scary. I always think if you can bring someone with you, almost like if it's an inspector, that's great, but during the first showing, look at the home and do that once over and hope they can catch things right off the bat. So you feel confident in waiving that inspection, but that's the thing too. It's really be a scary situation.
And it just goes to show you that it's not always about price. It comes down to the terms, all the terms when it comes to offers. You know, how much money are they putting down? When is the closing date? How strong financially are they? If it, you know, the appraisal doesn't come back, are they putting in what's called a gap clause, which means that they'll cover, the buyer will still cover if the appraisal comes in low. So buyers are getting more creative, and as agents, you need to be able to give advice to that, to your buyers and also to your sellers, because again, it doesn't always come down to price. You could have a stronger offer even if it's not the highest offer, right? Especially, you know, a contingency in Minnesota inspection, basically a buyer can back out for any reason. So they could really just use that as their escape. And another thing that we've seen is the coming soon status. That's a newer status that we have here, and you're not supposed to allow any showings to be happening during that coming soon time, because it's just kind of a heads up to let people know that this home is coming on the market. You cannot show it until it's actually active. So what people are doing then is they see it coming soon and they're writing an offer before they even see the home. And some sellers are accepting those offers before their home even hits the market if it's high enough, and
again, the terms are good.
And the terms are good, right?
Accepting without letting others see it.
Right. So, you know, we're seeing more offers being presented from buyers that haven't even seen the home. And if it's not contingent on a home inspection, then really you have no way to get out of that unless your financing falls through. So it can be a pretty interesting situation, and as agents, we just need to be able to counsel our buyers and our sellers.
Well, what I think is really essential today is having a very informed buyer, an unemotional conversation, not when we've looked at the home and we're writing the offer, but prior to that. Be thinking of the following sort of new, in today's market, new considerations that you have to be prepared for. And one of them, of course, would be the coming soon status. Would you be willing to buy a home that you haven't had a chance to physically look at?
Right.
Would you be willing to forego an inspection in order to get into first place for be able to be the offer that is selected? So these conversations really should happen long before we're even at the showing and or having the listing come online. So
I totally agree. Very good point. And that is, you know, like Colleen said, just informing your buyer and sitting down with them before you even make that offer, because in today's market, you usually gotta jump on something pretty quickly. So it's always good to go over that stuff with your buyers ahead of time.
Yep, just so they can prepare themselves to act quick and maybe
They'll be more confident.
Right. Well, thanks for watching today, everybody.
That's another episode of Let's
Talk About Real Estate.